Yes, so I had to disconnect my speakers. All right. Okay. So I'm going to reshare my screen again. There we start. Okay. So can you see from my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So we are set now. So this webinar is being brought to you by Research Ethicists, and I'm happy for Nathaniel and your team. Good those to you forever you are doing. So I'm going to present on how to effectively write your introduction. This is very, very important because in your thesis project where you are going to do it, and if you're able to get any basis from here, that's your breakthrough of your scientific publications. A lot of things I'm going to say here, people don't know, so they find it difficult to write scientific papers. So if you have this, then you are going to go. So Ebenezer Seno, and I'm a founder of the Elite Research and Data Science Institute, where Nathaniel has made mention of, and in collaborative with Solomon Apobi. I'm not sure Solomon is here, and we are happy to collaborate with bioresearch enthusiasts. So today I'm presenting from Delax, and currently I'm in Don's lab, and most of my work currently is on antimicrobial peptide receptors and also with neutrophil and T-cell immune profiles, and also do some calcium imaging. So if you have more conversation for us to discuss, you reach out on our social medias. I want to also talk to you about Elite Research and Data Science Institutes, and we are institute focused on a lot of stuff, trainings, project services. So that's why it's very important, and we are very happy that we have collaborated with bioresearch enthusiasts to bring to you webinars. So we'll be doing a lot of webinars this year freely and on top platforms. So you are in the safe hands anytime you join any of our trainings. So you have to follow us on our social medias. Today's section is going to be more interactive because we need to understand it's not just about presentation, it's about what are you carrying away today. So that's why we have to all get involved. Typical chapter 1. So from the heading you received, they said today we are going to look at how to do introduction. What is introduction? Is it chapter 1 or what is it? You have to know that a typical chapter 1 of your thesis consists of you have to know your title, of course. So you cannot start any writing without knowing your title. You have to know your title. Then most often introduction that consists of everything, review and writing. And in your thesis, we have a heading called under background that we will call it. But in scientific publication, you see only introduction. And this introduction will consist of everything, background, problem statements, justification, research question, with everything. So it means that chapter 1 is just focused on everything. It's either we are separating introduction as one of chapter 1, or we have introduction that is that is background, before we further have these subheadings to become a typical chapter 1. Depending on the department that you are, you have other subheadings. But this is a typical chapter 1 that at least you are supposed to have this ones constant. So some department will have extra headings in addition. You're supposed to have your title, your background, which is sub of introduction, your problem statement, justification, significance, research question, hypothesis, aim, objectives, and references. This is a typical chapter one. So today, by the end of the session, we have to be able to understand this. How do we even write it? What do we expect in this context? That is the aim of today. And again, I'm very happy that you are here with me and for us to go through this training. If you know this, as I said, you have the breakthrough of scientific writing. Because in a scientific paper, your introduction is the most important thing. Very, very important. So a lot of people, they write a scientific paper and the introduction is poorly written. Your paper will just be rejected. So what are the resources needed? Someone read on social media, I don't know whether someone also seen on social media that the person completed a degree, master's, without the use of a computer. I don't know, has someone also seen that before? Has seen that comment on social media? If you've seen it, put one in the chat. Have you seen someone saying that the person has graduated from university without using computer in the university before? If you've not heard someone saying that, put 0 in the chat. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah. Good that we've not heard some before, but I've read on social media a lot of celebrities saying that they've completed university without the use of computer. Even if throughout your journey, right, you've not used computer in anything, project work will allow you to use computer. Because scientific writing, you cannot do scientific writing on your phone, like you are reading your slides on your phone. You can't do that because you need a lot of other things in order to start a scientific writing. So including start writing on the screen. Yes. So you need a lot of things before you start writing. So also scientific writing, you cannot just sit anywhere and say you are starting scientific writing. We need a computer. So before we start the journey, you need a computer. The next one is you need a Microsoft Word because we are going to type in Word. You need this installed on the computer. Then you need a reference manager. I don't know whether there's a section that will, yes, I think I've seen that section that's going to teach you how to do referencing. So it's very unfortunate you see people that are still doing manual referencing. It's very, very unfortunate. Nat, can you take what is on the screen out? The red stars, or maybe you can check. Yeah, so we need what we call reference manager. We have different reference managers. A typical example of what I use is EndNote. And EndNote is the most recommended because it's very easy, user-friendly to use. Everyone can use EndNote. The next one is we need internet. Before you start writing your chapter one, your introduction, you need internet. You cannot go and sit in your room, sit anywhere instead you want to start writing. And we need the skills. And I'm happy that today you've joined this training to learn the skills of what? How to write a typical or chapter one. So if you have all these things, then you are good to start what? Writing your typical chapter one. Again, you need a computer. You cannot do writing on your phone. It's not the text message that you type or your note that you do on your phone. It's not that. Because in writing, you are writing and references at the same time. Because these reference managers cannot be on your phone. They are managed by a hot computer. So as you are writing, you have a computer, you are writing a Microsoft Word, you are referencing at the same time using a reference manager. Example is EndNote. We have other ones like Mendeley's, the Toro, and the rest that they will take you through. And we have internet because at any time you are going to get information from a database, and you have the skill. So you doing that is your skill to do that. So those don't have the skills in any of these things, you see that they'll be lacking. They can't even complete ethical chapter one. What else? It means that the next thing is you have to find your research gap. What do you want to research into? What typical chapter one are you writing about? You can always do this by one, select a topic or research that motivates you. So people will come to you, I need a research topic. Then I'll tell you what is your most interesting field. Is it HIV? Is it diabetes? Is it what? What disease condition that motivates you? That is where you start from. Throughout your life journey, throughout your education, undergrad, what has been your motivation? It's in which disease area? Then you find the keywords related to those terms you select and look for what is missing and what is not addressed. So you found that, oh, so when I was in Ghana, most of my studies have been on HIV because I want to help solve the issue of HIV because day in, day out, our people are being infected with HIV. I tell you, a lot of people are being infected every day. So most of my research works back in Ghana has been on HIV. So I go into HIV. What is missing? What have they found? What is left? What is left can be one, either the evidence gaps, either contradicting information. Is that there's particular knowledge that is not known in Ghana? So currently, one of us then did a study on the survivor analysis. For example, those that were born with HIV, right? How long can they live on treatment? That knowledge we need that knowledge. Or what is practical knowledge gap? What is the methodology? A typical example. Maybe someone has done a study somewhere outside Ghana. He has used a particular instrument. Then you want to also use a particular different way to validate whether what they've done in the US, what they've done in South Africa, what they've done in Nigeria, is it also applicable in your Ghana? Or that also lead to what your study what population. A study has been done. So in Africa, most of the studies we do are more of adaptive-based study. Here we do a lot of science, real science here. But in Ghana, you just have to look at what has been done. Then you adapt those observational studies, do more of observational studies. So someone have done maybe prevalent factor associated with HIV somewhere. Then they find out that, oh, maybe unprotected sex is associated with HIV. You want to also see that in the Ghanaian population, that's the population gap. So there will be some studies that has been done in different countries, but it has not been done in Ghana. And it becomes a population gap. So we are going to do the same topic, the same thing, but what? It's just the population that is going to change. Maybe it's just the theoretical concept that's going to change. It's just the methodology, how you're going to use it. So these are the things you are going to write in your introduction, your problem statement, that this is the problem that is in Ghana. We don't know the number of people that are being affected each day. We don't know how long people live when they have HIV. Those are knowledge gap, population gap. So most of the research ideas you'll be doing from this starting age will be around this what? Gaps. So it's about one, looking at what motivates you, what condition motivates you, then look for what is missing in those areas. Has the thing been done in Ghana or it's not? If it's not done in Ghana, then you can replicate it. But there's someone did it and use different methodology, then you can also use a different methods to also validate it. Did the person, is that enough data? Or was the study done on only the Greater Accra region? Then you can do it in the Ashanti region to also see whether what they've reported from Kolobu is the same thing in Kofanoti, to get enough data to support what we have in Ghana. So these are the things or how you can find related research topics. Currently, I think 3 days ago, I heard that from Ghana Health Service, they detected the first case of mpox virus. Then this will bring a question. What is the knowledge of mpox virus among the Ghanaian population? Are they aware? Are they aware of the mpox virus at all? Are they aware of the prevention measures? So being a scientist, you need to always be reading. You can have ideas from anywhere, not only going to the research database, but on social media. You look for stories, scientific stories. Then as a research scientist, you think, what do you want to do about this situation? It's about solving problems. So your mind should just be about solving problems. You identify a problem, you ask yourself, what will you do to contribute to solving this problem? What are we going to do within the next few days, months to what? Help in the first case of mpox virus that has been detected in Ghana. Is it even true or is not true? Is it just political data that they said they've detected? Even if it's true, what is the way forward? Those are the way that you can find the research gaps. But most often in undergraduate, so back in Ghana, you see that most students, we give them topics. So sometimes you go to your supervisor will give you a topic. So you wait for a supervisor to give you a topic. So sometimes you don't have to wait. You can use this approach to tell your supervisor that, no, I have found this nice topic I want to do. You explain to your supervisor, why do you want to do this? Will it contribute to scientific database? It's not just anything. It's what you are going to do. Is it relevant? If not, your supervisor will tell you what you are going to do is not relevant. So it's going to give you a topic. So your supervisor will give you a topic based on his or her previous research works. So the good thing is that they are already in the field, so they know a lot of stuff in those areas. They know what is left, what is not left, what has been researched on, what has not been researched on. So they give you a topic, then it's to speed up your process of you looking for all this information from the scratch. That's just the advantage of what your supervisor giving you your topic. But if they give you the topic, it becomes a burden on you to go and read broad on that area because it's a new thing to you to understand the topic yourself in order to carry it out. Do we have any question? I want to make sure you're all with me. Are you with me? If you're with me, put one in the chat. Great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So good that we are all on the same level. Yes. So these are some of the ways that we can find a research. So let's say we have finally find a research topic. I don't know whether someone has a research topic. So we can bring a research topics in the chat. So from this analogy, someone should bring out a topic, a research gap that you want to research on. So 1 minute, you can think of something. If not, I'll type something. So let's bring a topic, thing that you've come across. Then we use it, for example, throughout the section. So someone is saying prevalence of candidiasis in Ghana, prevalence of asymptomatic malaria in adults and children. Yes. So let's keep dropping them. Okay. The impact of AI on students in Ghana. Great. AI is helping a lot. It's helping a lot. Great. Okay, so I think we can proceed. We have about three. I don't know whether someone is still typing, but I can proceed. So for example, the first one, prevalence of candidiasis in Ghana. So I'm going to just add prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis in Ghana. So let's say we don't know that we want to investigate what? Prevalence and factors. What is the overall prevalence? And what factors could influence what? Candidiasis in Ghana. So some also survival outcomes and mortality predicted severe events in Ghana. Great, great, great. So let's go by, sorry, the first one. That's a prevalence and factors. Prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis in Ghana. So it's either be that one, even in Ghana, it's not likely that we are going to do the study in the whole Ghana. We cannot include the whole Ghana. It can be maybe within a certain region, and even within a certain region, it can be within maybe Confano Teaching Hospital. So in that case, it can be that the population, the research study has not been done in what? In Asante region. So we are going to do that. Or even within Asante region, maybe if there's a study that has been done, it's only done in the what? The metropolis, within the cities. The remote areas, the villages, it has not been done. It also become a gap. So we justify that although there has been prevalence reported, they are all among the educated people in the city. What of those in the remote areas? Are we neglecting them? And what is the factors that could influence the candidates among them? Or so that becomes what the population gap. Or it can be that the previous prevalence that was reported, right? Maybe those people, they use what? RDT, rapid text. And maybe you are going to use a more advanced tool like PCR, very sensitive tools. It becomes a methodology gap. Then you're able to justify that, oh, the previous reported cases, they just use just RDT. Then it becomes a methodology gap. Then in that case, it will add up to the knowledge that we have. So those are some of the ways. So as soon as you come up with this topic, now it means that your mind was more of candidiasis. Then you ask yourself, what can I do within candidiasis? Then within the candidiasis, you ask yourself, within this city, within this area, has they done it or they've not done it? What can I do about it within this community, within this region? So we find out that, oh, they've not done it or they've done it, but how they did it is wrong. You need to investigate it. Or you need to also look at other causes. Someone have just reported the prevalence. What is kind of the factors that influence people being what? Having the candidiasis. And that will lead you to your have what we call the topic. So now you develop our title. So now our title is Prevalence and Factors Associated with what? Candidiasis in Ghana. Prevalence and Factors Associated with what? Candidiasis in Ghana. So let me type it in the chat so that we analyze it. Yes, so I've seen a lot of interesting topic. Yes, great. Great. So let's say prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis in Kumasi, Ghana. So we have this topic, prevalence of factors associated with candidiasis in Ghana. So that becomes what your title. So it means before you start writing your introduction, everything, you need to have the idea of the title. You need to have those things. And what is the element of title? We are saying that a good title should be what? Precise and accurate. Just precise and accurate. And it should not be what? Ambiguous. Everyone should just read and understand. So you could say that prevalence and factors associated with what? Candidiatis. So if I just understand that we are looking at out of the population within the Kumasi, how many people will have the candidiasis? How many will not have it? And what is the factors that will predispose them into what? Having the candidiasis? Straightforward, is not ambiguous. So your topic they are going to write about should be what? Unambiguous. And it should convey clear scope of the research. Very straightforward. If everyone is able to understand. So now we know the scope of the work, that we are just going to look at the prevalence. Then we also assess the factors that will influence on the candidiasis. Then most often recommend that should not be extremely long. The highest should be more of 15 to 20 words. So the prevalence and associated, how many words do we have? So we have prevalence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is really nice. So we have what we call search engine optimization. Those that are into blogging, you will see that if you have a very long topic, people will even find it difficult to see your paper on the search base like Google Scholar PubMed to cite your work. So that's why it's recommended that we should avoid extremely very long hot topics. Someone can have a topic over 30 words, which will affect what when you publish the work. It's going to affect your paper being seen by hot people on the internet. People will search it always, those with the short names will appear first. Then they'll read it. SEO, what I mean by SEO is that if you go to Google right now and you search anything, you see the links that appear first. Those are more of very, very high rank of SEO, search engine optimization. But you see that those people that have a very long name or everything, they are not specific enough to the database. So always the information will be missing. People do publications over a year, they've not even had any citation on the publication they've done. It's because of these minor stuffs. Also, your topics or your title should without abbreviations. You see people using abbreviations in title. We don't do that. Except some of the really recognized abbreviations, but it is recommended that your title should not contain abbreviations or acronyms. We will see some people, this abbreviation is not really known. They've just introduced it in their work and they are using it in the title. No one is going to search with that abbreviations, except known abbreviations like HIV/AIDS. The people will usually will just go to the Google Scholar search prevalence of HIV/AIDS. Then you will see them coming. Other than that, there should be no abbreviation or acronyms in the title and should not include a study of. So you will see this a lot. So once again, I'm happy that you've joined this webinar and you are appreciating what is here and you appreciate when you start your work. You see people, your colleague writing a study of prevalence or observation of this. We don't do that. It should be just straightforward. See people write a study of prevalence and factors. Those are called characters. We don't do that. It should be just straightforward. Titles should just straightforward. So if we are able to evaluate that, yes, this is a really acceptable title that we have, then we can now move forward to write our introduction because our introduction is based on the title. Are we together? If you are with me, put one in the chat. Are we together and are we having fun? Yeah, yes. So this is very, very important. What we are going through is very, very important. So we are saying that we are able to what? Access it. So at this stage, we are all able to access what we have a good title is. So if we're able to develop a good title, then from the title, we can now write the introduction from it. Because you cannot start writing introduction without having title. You need to have that. Then when we come to the introduction, the first thing is what people refer to as the background. The first paragraph or 2 pages that we are going to write, what we call the background. So you need to have the background of what? Your chapter 1. This background will help readers to understand the paper and appreciate the importance of the research. So for example, I don't know how many of us even know candidiasis. Maybe you've just heard about it. What is it at all? So it's within the background, you're going to let them understand what is candidiasis. If you are a first-time writer, you're even going to give the causes of candidiasis, some of the previous factors and those things. First, they have to understand the topic. That's the main aim of your background. The main aim of your background is first, you have to what? Understand or let your readers what? Or you yourself, because everyone is always a first time in a very topic, except you've worked on that topic, particular condition for a long time. And even that, you have to first understand the topic. So by the time someone finish reading your background, first, the person has to be able to understand what is candidiasis about. Then we can now introduce the research gap in relation to what? The candidiasis, which is the prevalence and the factors. So you have to, it means that the first paragraphs will be talking about what the candidiasis, some of them, some people, even will start from the causes, even what is the organism that causes it, the bacteria, either yeast or anything, they will be stating it. That is first time writers. They will bring all those things, then name themselves, they understand the topic. So if your supervisor give you a topic, by the time you finish writing the background of your introduction, you are supposed to understand the topic. So if you finish writing and you still go to your supervisor, you still meet your friend, you're unable to explain your topic, it means that you didn't write a background. Again, it also helps readers, people who are reading your content, to understand what you've done. And it's getting to the last aspect of what your background, you're able to tell them that this is the research question you are going to address. You have to take note that written with detailed references, except general assumption of phrases. So it means that we cannot start writing background without having a computer, without having the internet, without knowing how to use a reference manager. Because we need to reference every bit of information we are going to put there. Any sentences, you've said that, oh, the previous prevalence of candidiasis globally is 1.2. 1.2, who is saying this? Is it WHO? You references that, yes, it's WHO that is saying that already globally, 1.6 percent of people are having candidiasis, or over 2 million people are having it. That is why you have to reference it. You cannot write any context without reference, except general assumptions or phrases. There are some statements is general, that one we don't need references. So it means that we have to know how to use reference managers. The most common is EndNote, and I don't know whether I'll be able to demonstrate EndNote today. You learn them because there's referencing in the outline, which someone is going to teach you how to do reference. But today, we just have to understand that the background is helping you yourself and also the readers to understand the topic we want to write about, and also introduce them to the programs and telling them what is known. So background is going to tell them what is already known and what is unknown and what you are going to do. Basically, we always say that your introduction is analogous to a funnel, or your background specifically is analogous to a funnel. I'm sure we've all seen a funnel before. If you've not seen a funnel before, and we know a funnel. So writing a background is analogous to what? A funnel. And this is a one-time breakthrough. When I was in my undergrad, as soon as I learned this, or I got to know this, it becomes my breakthrough. And all things are right are always in context. You have to put this in mind. Sometimes I'll read a background for people of high academic level, then I was like, no, no, no. You have to go and write the whole stuff again. We don't do that. The background, because in publication, manuscript, we don't even talk about progress state. Everything is in the background or introduction. So the same thing as undergrad, you are postgrad or anywhere, you have to make sure that the background is analogous to a funnel. What are we saying here?
Okay.
What we are saying said is that broad. We have to start broad and context. Mostly for me, when I'm writing, I start with a catchy sentence. For example, I can say, candidiasis continue to be among the top STI in Ghana, maybe causes infertility. Candidiasis continue to be among what? Candidiasis continue to be among top STI in Ghana, which causes what? Infertility. Maybe it's true, but you have to validate it. If it's among those that causes infertility, then it becomes a very catchy statement. As soon as someone read your very first background statement that candidates continue to be among the top STI in Ghana that causes what? Infertility, the person become very interested that no, it means this is really a relevant topic or field I have to read. So I start with a catchy word sentence anytime I write in a background. Then the rest will follow. Maybe you don't even know candidiasis, or you start with some definitions, start with prevalence, you causes of what? Candidiasis. So the top, when you are starting it, you are just going to make your readers understand the whole thing. So we are starting broad. We are just introducing yourself to the topic of concerns. You are just telling the readers what is even candidiasis, what are some of the causes, what is already known about it. Mind you, when you are writing also about something like prevalence, you have to also follow the final structure. So for example, you are writing in the context about the prevalence of candidiasis. We have to what? Also follow the final structure. What do I mean the final structure? It means that if there's global prevalence, you state global prevalence. If there's prevalence in Africa, you state prevalence in Africa. If there's prevalence in West Africa, you state prevalence in West Africa. If there's prevalence in Ghana, you follow by prevalence in Ghana. If it's prevalence in Asante region, you state it. That is what we call the final structure. You start globally, the top, then you narrow it down, 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 down. So as soon as I see someone talking about prevalence in a context, then the person is not following the final structure, then you know that you have to go and rewrite your whole work. That will be important. So as you're talking about prevalence, you have to follow what the final what structure. That what is the prevalence? And mind you, prevalence definition, they are all on the same, they are not on the same paragraph. This is a different paragraph. The next paragraph that's talking about prevalence of the condition, then you what? What is the global prevalence of the condition? From global, you come to Africa. From Africa, you come to West Africa, to Ghana, to what? Kumasi. So it means if there's no data in West Africa, if there's no data in what? Either Africa, it means you always see data about global prevalence, then you come to what? Prevalence in Ghana, prevalence in what? Asante region. But if there's all data, you have to arrange them in that final structure. We don't write anything anyway. So even if you see information about prevalence of Ghana first, you have to bring that sentence down. Writing is not perfect from the start. First, you have to do a sketch. You have to scatter your information in your Word document. When you are done, before you rearrange all these things. Writing is not a joke. If you're able to do all these things, there's no way people will be reading your papers, then you feel happy. Anytime we send papers to publication, the editor is happy, reading context. They will appreciate for your write-ups. It's a skill. So writing is a skill on its own. If you're able to know how to do good scientific writing, it becomes even economic freedom for yourself. You can become an academic writer where you write for people. It's a skill. and you develop it by practicing. You have to do a lot of work. You have to be writing day in, day out to develop it. So what we are saying is that the background follow what we call the final structure. And the final structure is not only applying to the whole background at all. It's applying to even a paragraph. Certain paragraph, we have to follow what the final structure. A typical example of a paragraph is prevalence paragraph, where we have global prevalence. Always you see data global prevalence because always WHO, CDC, and the USA and the rest. So you always see data from here. Africa, you see data. Which is really good for you to start. You see data, then you arrange them in a final structure. So if you're able to introduce them broad context, then you now start narrowing your writing to what? The next paragraph, you review what literature on what? Factors. So we've said that we want to look at prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis. Then you can also, what the next paragraph, you have to talk about what are some of the reported or factors associated with candidiasis from other what sectors in the South Africa, in the Uganda, what are already factors that people have also seen in the literature? You narrow it down. Then getting to then you now what also introduce your research gaps. So you've talked about the background, what is candidiasis, you've stated some prevalence, already prevalence, you've also talked about some factors. Then you now start introducing your knowledge gaps or your research gaps. Then you now start telling them that, but apart from all these prevalence and factors that have been reported in other hot studies from other countries, in Kumasi, no study has what assess what these factors, no study has reported data or there's no published data on what even the factors that are associated with candidiasis. So first, you've started by telling them what is candidiasis. You've telling them what even causes it, what is known prevalence, what are some of the reported factors that they've reported somewhere. Then you now tell them, you now narrow your writing down to what are your problems that you are going to what, solve in your work. What, even if there's prevalence, what instrument did they use? Maybe you start telling them that, oh, this paragraph, they use RDTs, but you are going to use a more sensitive approach to assess the true prevalence of candidiasis by using PCR, all those things. Then you what? You narrow it down into what? Explain why these gaps are important because you are going to what? Use what? Yeah, which is more hot, sensitive. So by the time you finish, you end with what? Your exact what? Research what? Questions or hypotheses. So I will see some people writing, then at the ending of the background, and you'll see there's references. Those people, we have to imprison them. And it's lack of skill, lack of knowledge, I understand. So if someone, you've not joined this training today, you've not read this, you'll always be writing to us. As I said, that's why most of trainings are being organized at Allied Research and Data Science Institute. We are offering a lot of free training services to people. So we are always ready to collaborate to high content. Any content we teach is really high content. So we are saying that how do you write a proper background or introduction? You have to know that in manuscript, papers that we publish, this is the only aspect of the introduction. We don't separate the problem statement. We don't separate the justification. So it means you have to make sure all these things are captured in your background introduction. By one, letting them understand the concept around the topic, then telling them what are some of the factors that is known, then you start introducing what is unknown. You've talked about the definition, causes of candidiasis, the prevalence, some of the factors that as causing it, then you tell them what is the brief program. So this aspect is different from in a typical chapter 1 thesis, is short form of the problem statement. The problem statement section that we are going to talk about is more elaborative of here. This one is short. Then why your research gaps is important and you exact. So your last sentence. So anytime I read any writing that I see, I'll first look at the very last sentence that no, the person has stated that, oh, this study is aimed to investigate the prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis in Kumasi, Ghana. Then I know that this person at least have followed what? The writing skill. Then I'll now go and review what? Your context. So if I just look at the write-up, the whole write-up, we go to the last one, I see the references and I know that this person is the whole book. It's a whole book of content. There's no need for me to read. That's what I do. So you have to read high top journals that we publish in top journals. Then you'll be able to write a good content. So if you have this sketch at your background, no matter any topic that you are giving, you have to be able to produce a good content out of it. Are we together? If we are together, put one in the chat. Are we together? Very good. Good that we are together and we are on point. Do you have any question? So someone may even ask, some people will say that this research, no one has done study on it. No one has done study on it. Yes, if no one has done study on it, does not mean that you should not do the research. You can build your hypothesis from what? Other science related around what? The topic. What is the other science around it? No one has done that work in different places does not mean that you should not do it. You have to build the science. That's why you have to write your background work to build the science around it. It's very, very important. So if we are able to build this, then we can now proceed to do your literature search. So literature search can be Google Scholar, PubMed, recognized websites. So for example, for we in the health or the medical sciences, most of our publications are in this database. So these are called database, Google Scholar, PubMed. Databases embed what? Or index all journals. So some journals that you see their papers. So the difference between article, a journal, and a database. These are database. Database consists of all publications from journals. Journals are the body that publish your research, and the papers that you are reading online are called articles. So you see most of those articles in this database. It's like Google, normal Google. You see every information on Google. So if you want published papers to read, you go to this. But PubMed is more specifically for health. So there will be some articles you see on PubMed you will not see on Google Scholar, but most often everything in Google Scholar. But there are very few articles that are only in PubMed that you not see in Google Scholar. If not, everything is on Google Scholar. Or if you are looking for data like prevalence, where do you go to? If you are looking for prevalence of mpox virus, let's say you want mpox virus prevalence, where do we go to? If you know, just put it in the chat. We want data on prevalence of mpox virus. Where do we go to look for that data? Because we need to add it to our writing. Yes, there's someone saying WHO. Yes, which is good. So WHO, CDC, they are always reporting those data. Prevalence of a disease is not in, mostly the current prevalence is not in published papers. If you want the current prevalence, you go to the recognized website. They are reporting real-time prevalence. articles will be 1 year behind, except in some disease conditions. But some renowned diseases like the HIV, the mpox, those things, always this website report the right time data. So it means that for such data in your right time, you don't go and look for the prevalence in the published articles in Google Scholar that they've reported 1 year ago, 2 years ago. Straight away, you go to WHO, you see 2024 what paper that's reported prevalence of HIV, prevalence of mpox. But Google Scholar, PubMed, what the science or the authors have written about will be 1 year ago, 2 years ago. So you use what the recognized websites for those data. You don't go to Google Scholar, and there's a way we reference all these things in the hot. The reference to. So I'm sure the one that will take you to the reference to is going to what? Teach you how to do all those stuffs. Today, we are just going through some of the theoretical concepts. What do we do? What don't we want to do? Then, so you do your literature search and you report this data, then you can use it in the write-ups. Then the next topic can be problem statements. So for thesis, your chapter 1, we have a different section for problem statement. Although you talk briefly about the problem in the background, here you elaborate more. Let me also tell you that when you are writing a background, you see people writing background like 5 pages. A very well-written background should be 2 to 3 pages. I don't write background for papers that are published. I write like 1.5 to 2 pages, maximum 2 pages. If you're able to write, put in all this information using ×2 times New Romans and double spacing, you see a very typical writing should be maximum 2 pages. For master's, PhD, that one is kind of extend because those one, their topic is not small like we have. We have a very bulky heading, so that one can be like 3 pages, 4 pages. But if you come here under problem statement, you see someone writing a whole problem statement 1 page. I don't know the problem they are writing about, whether it's a problem about the whole Ghana. Problem is just about what are you going to solve? What is your work about? That's just the problem. It's not about 2 pages problem statement. It's just about half page or 1 page. You describe the context of the study and also identify the general analysis approach. What is the context? Okay, we want to convey what the research program. That's just the problem statement. What program have you identify in your research search? Maybe the study has not been done in Ghana. The study has used a different approach. There's no study that has been done here. We are going to what? Just state within few sentences what is the problem. Mostly I write problem statement without even reference, but some people may want to also quote from something, then a few references. Well, it's the problem I've identified. There's there's A, B, C, C. There's no A, B, C, D, C. That is all. You state the problem that, in Kumasi, there's no data on the factors associated with candidiasis. We don't know what is causing the candidiasis. Is it people that want protected sex? Is it people that are using some drug that are having the candidiasis? Is it through some water bodies? We don't know. We don't know what is causing the high prevalence of candidiasis in Kumasi. We want to investigate. Is it the current galamsey? We don't know. That is the problem you are identifying. So you are just to be straightforward. Tell the readers this is the problem. Tell your supervisor this is the problem about this topic. That is why I'm going to do it. That is the justification. So justification and significance is just opposite of the problem. So if you're telling them there's no data on the prevalence of candidacy, then your justification will be what? You are going to what? Add data to what? The knowledge that, or you are going to what? Refine it. So your justification or significance, so your data will contribute what? To what? Scholarly research. That's the significance. Justification, you are just going to add data. You are going to what? Investigate on the prevalence and of factors. So it's just the opposite of the problem statement. So as soon as we are done with problem statement, the next subheading is justification. You've told them this is the problem. Significant and justification, you are just justifying the problem you stated. You don't state anything. So it's just opposite. There's no referencing here because you are just going to what? Tell them that this is the problem you found and this is what you are going to do. And it's very relevant that or significant that it will add knowledge to the fight against candidiasis. That is all. There's no reference in here because you are just justifying why your study or you think your study is important. And all these things is for thesis subheadings. In publication, all these ones are under just one heading, introduction. We don't separate them. Your writing should be convincing, it should be a story. So you could see that the headings start from background to, so how I've arranged the PowerPoint is also how we've arranged the sub topics in the write-ups. We don't move justification first, you write before you can write problem statement. We don't do that. You have to what? First, your next heading should be your problem statement. Then right away, your next subheading should be justification and significance. Because science is a story. If someone read your work, so some people will be read their work, they don't understand it. Here is not a thing that you do in your class that you go and copy and paste from Google. That makes science very difficult. Everything you write has to what? Make sense. So when I was in Ghana, you come to our previous we are going to read your sentence by sentence. We tell you, does this make sense? Is this an English? So in starting writing, you are going to learn proper English. It's not the English you'll be using in your class. Construction of sentence, it should be straightforward. We don't want any ambiguous sentences. That is what we do in scientific writing. Then from you've told them your problem, you've told them the justification, why it's relevant. Then the next one is what? You have to tell them what is the question. Your question will be, what is the prevalence of what? Candidiasis in Kumasi? One. The next one is, what are the factors associated with candidiasis in Kumasi? Two. Those are your two main questions for the research. Those are your two main questions. What is your research question? Your research question one is, what is the prevalence? And it's a question, it will end with a question mark. What scientific question do you want to investigate? It's a question. So that research question, you state it. What is the prevalence? So all these things are what? From the topic. So it means you have to have your topic right from the start before you start editing. So we have, what is the prevalence of candidiasis in Kumasi? One. The next one is, what are the factors associated with candidiasis in Kumasi? Or even if you have a particular study population, maybe among pregnant women in Kumasi, question mark. Then if you're able to define your problem, then you can now hypothesize that this or STI, this is associated for candidiasis. So some of these things may look abstract from the beginning and understand, but as you proceed, they are going to remember this very well. Now you started that. That will be your breakthrough in scientific journey. And it's very, very important that you have this training. Because it's been most of the studies in Africa setting is more of observational studies, and we need to justify all these things. So you tell them, what is the hypothesis? It's just a declaration of the association between two or more variables. Mostly when I don't know whether you've done a research methods or you've done biostatistics, you meet what we call the null and the alternate hypothesis. The null hypothesis is saying that there's nothing that exists in nature. In nature, is everything is equal. And everything is neutral or is in equilibrium. But the alternate is when you have enough evidence, then you go for the alternate. That is a typical example is unprotected sex is not associated with HIV. So here we can say unprotected sex is not associated with candidiasis infection. We don't know. Before COVID came, we didn't know if someone is having a high body temperature, the person is having COVID. So we don't neglect it. Until someone said, if the body temperature is high, it's COVID. Then we went for the alternate. We now accepted that. Oh, high body temperature will be associated with COVID infection. That's just the difference between the now and the alternate. There is that opposite. So someone is saying that does that mean that you state your research question in both the background aspects? I mean, in both your background as well as when you get into the research question after the list. So no, in the background, you know, really state that what is the research question. You're not going to state that. You have to know that in background, everything is a sentence for paragraph. Okay. But it's more of, it comes from a hypothesis that as soon as you're able to indicate your hypothesis in the background, readers will know, understand that this is what your hypothesis is. So mostly we don't state hypothesis question just in the background. No, it's just part of how you formulate your programs there and your study aims. There's no indication in the background. You have to know that background is just continual writing of paragraphs, sentences, or words. There's no separations. But when in thesis, that's why we tend to separate all these subheadings. Because you see people writing or do research with that hypothesis. It's very, very important. You cannot do any research with that hypothesis because hypothesis is what you are testing, what the statistical tool is testing. But we don't really, so as soon as you're able to cone that, or you even see some write-ups that say that we hypothesize that, oh, this is associated. Those are some high-level writing, you see them in a statement form, but not in uh sorry, research question, not in a question that, oh, this thing you write it and then come out. No, we don't do that in the background. But you see people writing in the background that we hypothesize that this will happen. That's all. I don't know whether you've understood the explanation. So the baseline is that I don't know whether I'm going to, okay, yes, great, great. Yeah. Yes. So always we have to have heard this about hypothesis. As I said, hypothesis is just that there's no association, there's nothing. But this is what exists, that there's going to be association. So we are assuming that maybe unprotected sex is going to be associated with what? Candidiasis infection. And when you state this, that will lead to what? Your what objectives, your aim and objectives. So mostly in a typical what chapter one, these are your headings. Your headings is going to end at your aim and objectives. Apart from some department that will be adding some few headings. But these are the main thing, your background, your problem statement, your justification, your research question, your hypothesis, the aim and objectives. You have to always write about this. This is the standard subheading we need to see. Regardless of whatever you are writing, you need to have this. What's the different aim? Aim, or some people writing will say general objectives. So we see some people writing it in their thesis saying general objectives, the same as the aim. Then we have what we call specific objectives. These are the two main things. The aim is just everything, just something broad, but it's not always a repetition of the whole title. Sometimes, oh, so for example, the topic that we are working, prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis. The aim can just be to access the prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis. That's all. Access the prevalence and factors associated, that is acceptable. But it's not always the same because some topics are very long with a lot of information. It doesn't mean you should always bring all the information in your title to your aim or your general objectives. It's just what you want to achieve. That is all, generally what you want to achieve. That's the general aim. So everything in one sentence. This one is just one sentence. Then you're able to break them down into what? Specific objectives. So if you have your aim is to access the prevalence and factors associated with candidiasis in Ghana, then your specific aim is one, to access the prevalence of candidiasis in Ghana. Then the next one is to maybe determine or to evaluate, those are English, the factors associated with what candidiasis. So we break them into two. Even these factors, sometimes we can still break down into to access social-demographic factors associated with candidiasis, to access clinical factors associated with candidiasis, maybe to access the lifestyle factors associated with candidiasis. It depends on how we design the questionnaire. Questionnaire design is also one of the most important things that we need to know. So maybe you get to learn how to design a proper questionnaire later. Because your questionnaire design is going to affect your topic, going to affect your data analysis, going to affect your results. So it's just the breakdown of your topic. So you always derive from the aim. You are going to what? Break it down into small, small pieces. Yes. So you can bullet the aim, but for the specific objective, you need to number them. I, or one, two, three. So you could see that from all the previous ones, there's no numbering. So your background, your justification, all those ones are paragraph. But here you have to number them. It's only specific aim that you are going to number them. I. Because we need to see them. That's why you are going to present that. Yes, your main aim or your number one is to access the prevalence. Your number two, to assess socio-demographic factors associated with what candidiasis. Your number three is to assess what the clinical factors like that. So here you number them, either using the Roman numerals or the normal numbers that we have. And each aim, so you are just going to break down each aim you want to what achieve. That's the main thing. But I want to remind you that objectives are only achievable by statistical analysis. And so some people will write aim to assess or to measure the level of, let's say, hemoglobin among the people. Or you define aim to go and measure a particular marker. Laboratory work is not an aim. It's part of your methodology. So if you've written that, you have to go and delete it somewhere. Laboratory procedures are not aim. Your aim is only achievable by statistical analysis. So prevalence, we are going to use statistical analysis to assess the prevalence. Factors associated with what? The candidates. At the end, we are going to have what? Candidacy, non-candidacy. We are going to what? Do chi-square. We are going to do any analysis, like this regression models to see what are they significant. There you see the p-value, you see the statistical test value. That will tell you your objectives is what? Achievable. So again, we do a lot of intensive statistical analysis class. Then if you're interested to become a data scientist, you can always contact us. Allied Data Research. It's one of the main things that I'll be doing is to do comprehensive data analysis in SPSS graph, pad, R, anything. Yeah. So it's very, very important. Yes, but these days very, very tight because of what I do here, and we can always teach you what to do when the time comes. So sometimes we recommend that when you set objective, you see a statistician, a data scientist to see whether the objective you set is it achievable. If it's not, you have to go and delete it and rewrite it. Then you are done with your aim and objectives. Then you have to, I'll be talking about reference. So that will end your typical chapter one. But what are the few checklists? Checklist is one of your references because you cannot be writing without reference. You know, for example, your background, it needs a lot of reference. You have to make sure that you are following the recommended or references that either recommended by your department, by your school, or by what your supervisor. We have Journal of University of Science and Technology. So KNUST, we have a references that when you, it's not default in the endnote, we add that into all the notes. So previously, I only tell students to use the KNUST references that we have that. But most people will be talking about APA 7th edition, the 7th edition, the 6th edition is not good. There's issue with that. Harvard stars, all those things. They are just common star of what the references. Then the reference should have both in-text and out-text reference because it's very, very important. You cannot write a chapter one without a reference. What is inside and the outside, it should be up to date. You have to make sure that your reference should be up to date. You cannot be talking about the prevalence of a condition, like prevalence of HIV, prevalence of mpox. Then you go and reference prevalence that has been reported in 2015, while there is data from the WHO website in 2024. Should be up to date and it should be relevant. The main issue is original source. People would take information from a different place, they'll go and reference a different literature just to fill space. We don't do that. It's like you've invented something, right? You've invented a typical mobile phone, and someone has gone to a certain place and said this mobile phone was rather invented by someone, how will you feel? So it's the same thing you are doing in your writing, telling that this thing is rather invented by someone. It's a total insult to the scientific original source. You have to make sure that you reference who found this, who said this. Very, very important. And it should be properly cited. There's a way we cite one, and there's a way we cite more than one what references, both the in-text. A typical issue is the in-text. We don't joke with that. All these things cut across. Even if I see a write-up that someone has done a writing without reference, I'll not even proceed to read the book. You have to indicate that. What are some of the common mistakes? We are almost getting to the end. Common mistake is too much details on manual issues. You have to know where the issue. You are writing about prevalence and factors associated with what candidiasis. Then you are talking about history, a lot of history about what brought candidiasis. You are talking about a lot of things about the causes, about it's not important. We don't know history about candidiasis. Your writing should be straightforward. What is the already known prevalence? What is the already known factors? What is the problem? Then what are you finding? We don't do that. It should be two major issues should be on concern. Major concern is what is your main issue? And citation elapses, inquiry citation, we don't do that. Very, very important. And assumptions, you have to make sure all your assumptions are very, very important. You don't have to be doing irrelevant or substantial assumptions. And you have to evaluate when you are done with the whole thing, you have to evaluate yourself from background. Is your background description or is it enough? As the readers, you yourself, do you understand the topic that you've written about? Have you introduced the research problem? Your problem statement, is it clearly stated? Have you formulated well? Is your English right? Is it brief and concisely stated? It's just a problem statement. Is your objectives, are they clearly stated? Are they achievable? I've told you that objectives are only achievable by statistics. So I understand people will be right. A lot of people don't know statistics, so they'll be writing anything they like, which I understand. But if you are from master's level, PhD, that one you need to know that yes, this is only achievable by statistics. And is your justification enough? Is it convincing? Has your write-up, your chapter one, does it give information of why your research is very important? If not, you need to go back. Is your objectives clearly stated and achievable? And last one is your language. Sometimes I'll review a paper and then you ask them, go and look for English speaking person to what? Write your paper for you. Have you proofread and edit their work? Very, very important. If not, as soon as you send manuscript to publication, it will be rejected. So tell you go and what? Learn English. You have to know the most recognized writing style is in English. We do our publication, read English, that's why you are reading in English. All papers are going to read is English. Those in the Francophone also be reading French styles. Language barrier. You have to be able to know how to write proper English. Those one come with time. So whatever I've taken you through today is just more of, but practicality, how do you write that? You have to always read our papers. These are references, and I'll tell you, as every expert was once a beginner. We have all start from a certain level and progress. As I said, you have to always follow us on our social media pages. If you are not following us, please, you have to follow us on our LinkedIn, because anytime we have any other webinars, not only this ones, you have to always join us to learn. We do a lot of training on our language and all of that stuff. And I will say that if you want to read or be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. Okay. You have to always read most of the stuff we've published online. So you can always, if nothing at all, you can check our research database. I think my PC is freezing, but if you type my name, you're able to go to my ResearchGate profile. Then you can read some of the publication we've done. Okay, because our background, look at how we've written our background. Just search my full name, you see. It will take you to either my Google Scholar, my ResearchGate. Then look at context, how we've written our background. Methodology is a whole area I need to. This today was just about chapter one. I'm sure someone will take you to chapter two. Teacher review, someone will take you to chapter three methodology. One is very important, very, very important methodology. You don't joke with that. And you'll be fine. So I don't know whether I have questions. So in all, how many pages should page one have? Page one can be, for example, just background would be like 2 to 3 pages. Problem statement, justification, 1 pages. Uh, Hypothesis, aim and objectives, 1 page. Like 5 pages, 5 to 6 pages. You have to be able to finish chapter one. That's 5 to 6 pages to be able to do chapter one. Then your last page reference. You have to always have your actors references, which you have to always have references, because you are not going to write whatever you are going to write is people's knowledge. You have to always reference anything that you've done, and references ties the whole thing. So I don't know whether we have more questions. We've used 1 hour 30 minutes, right? Yeah, exactly 1 hour 30 minutes. I don't know. Have you ever used that time? Not how many hours were you supposed to use?
We're supposed to end at max 8:30. I think we still have some time for questions. So
8:30,
if
that would be what? What's the time there now?
that it's now 8 to
Okay, okay.
yeah,
So
so
maybe
if
we
anyone
use
has
it.
any question, you can
Yeah,
unmute
yeah.
and go ahead and ask.
Maybe 3 minutes or 8 minutes question, then we end. We just end here so that we have a lot of time for ourselves. So we have like approximately like 40 people joining, which I think some of these things, do you know how we've learned them? It's a long way. Yes, yes. But if you have opportunity to have some presentation like this, you save a lot of time. So do you have any question or everyone
Hello.
understand? It's like everyone
Hello.
understand. Yes, yes.
Hi.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
My question will have to do with the chapter one.
Yes.
You said when you are publishing, you combine them all into one, like one, two, which is the introduction.
Exactly. In fact, if you're able to write only a good background, that is all. When you're publishing, it's just the background that you're going to publish. Because BAM is the problem statement, everything's they've been captured briefly in background. So
Okay.
it only so I realize that people that don't know this, that when we are publishing, we're going to look for some of the information in the problem statement and come and add. Maybe they have made some important statements in the problem statement or in the justification. Then we come and add it to the background. Other than that, it's only the background because background have everything. Introducing your contents, talking about brief problem, talking about your habit, everything is there. That's the only aspect you are going to add to your methodology and your result discussion to publish. Because you have to know that your thesis is around 50 to 100 pages. But papers that we submit for publication, we are only publishing only 15 to 30 pages. So means we don't need a lot of information. We need only important things in the manuscript. That's why all the papers we are reading online, they are just so short. Those are just 15 to, so your entire introduction, methodology, results, and the discussion should be like maximum 50, 30 pages. That's papers for publication, the whole writer for publication. But your
Okay.
thesis has like 50 to 100 pages.
Okay. So that means when you are done submitting to, let's say, the school, you have to
No, no,
like,
no. Before you come back and come and write manuscript for publication, that's the whole thing. In that case, you put out any chaps. There will be a lot of chaps in your thesis you are going to submit.
okay, okay,
But
okay,
here you are going to rewrite it in your content, good scientific content, within 15 to 30 pages, or all the entire 50 or 100 pages you submitted to graduate. You are going to rewrite it into 15 to 30 pages to publish.
okay, okay. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Right. Any other concern?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Please, did you say we don't reference the background?
You have to reference any statement. You have to always reference the background. I don't know if you get me.
Hello.
Okay.
Yes, you have to always reference the background. Background has a lot of
Yes, I get
reference.
you.
Yes, a lot of reference. That's why you cannot start writing background without you knowing how to use referencing to, or without you not connecting to internet. Uh, okay, Jamila.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. And my question
Yeah.
is concerning the literature review.
Yeah.
I want to know, okay, let me put it this way. After, let's say, about the candidiasis, you go and read about topics related to that, like what people have already published? And is it that you're going to summarize it in your own words, then after you put their references there, like the article you read it from? I'm not really getting that point. That's
Yes, yes. So for example, let me reshare my screen. So before you start writing, right, you need to even make a sketch. You go to your Word, then you draw your outline. So mostly, maybe here, you start with a catchy statement. Maybe candidiasis continues to be among the top STI. As I said, for the first time, we'd also use you have to define them in full. Anytime you're using abbreviation for the first time. So then you put the abbreviation so that all the writing, subsequent writing will be using abbreviation. So candidates continue to be among the top socially transmitted infection, which causes infertility in Ghana. Maybe for your first time, maybe it is caused by this. Then mostly we can also add a prevalence to this first paragraph. So maybe globally, over 2,000 people are living with candidiasis. Let's say maybe there's no data in Africa, there's no data. Maybe in Ghana, this is maybe in addition, current study has reported this is in what? Let's say Accra. All right. Hope you get it. Then you move to the next one, the next paragraph. Maybe the next paragraph, you want to talk about factors. Okay. Factors that have been reported that should be associated. The next paragraph, maybe you want to talk about the impact of this candidiasis. What are some of the impacts? Then the next paragraph, you want to introduce the problem, your knowledge gap. Okay. Then the next one, your last paragraph should be what? Talking about your what? Your hypothesis, your questions, and the rest. So sometimes you even combine this. Maybe this study, that's your last paragraph. So before you start writing, you have this sketch, right? So it means that first you need data on global prevalence of HIV. So you go to the internet, maybe if it's WHO, you go to WHO prevalence of candidiasis. Maybe I'll just add WHO so that it will just take me to WHO website. So now we have a lot of AI. So you see CDC. Mostly a lot of data has been reported on CDC. Then WHO. So you see here, most of the data are rather in CDC, not WHO. Okay. So that's how you find them. But then when you are done, you can reference. There's a way we reference from websites. I'm sure because of time, someone will take you through that. But for example, let's say from Google Scholar, so I'll search Google. Google Scholar, maybe I want to look at factors. So you breaking down your topic into what? Piece. You don't search the whole thing. Maybe factors associated with candidiasis. Okay. Just this one. Well, that's the main. You see already what papers. So you see this paper was published in 1994, which is too old. You have to look for current one. So 2016. So even if you have a particular candidate you're interested in, you go there. So you go to the most current one, or you go and read. So for example, factors associated with candidiasis caused by co-infection. See, this is 2022. Maybe we go to this paper. Then we go and look for the information. So here, now there are two things. Either the information is reported by this paper or is reported by another paper that's been referenced in this paper. So if you pick the data from typically abstract, okay, abstract, that's in the multivariate logistic regression model, data use. So you see this one is kind of something that they use. And impressive immunotherapy has significant effect on co-infection in the two conditions. So you see, they found this to be associated, and this has been reported by this paper. So it means you reference this paper. If I'm using EndNote, I'll just click on this site, okay? Then I'll export this references tab to my EndNote. This is my EndNote. You see, I have close to 5,000 papers that I've read. So, of course, I'm always into writing and stuff. Then you're able to cite. But in that case, you see, you're only picking this information. It doesn't mean you're just going to pick the whole thing. You're going to rephrase it in your own language. Then you reference it because you pick the data from this paper. But let's say also their introduction, you see their introduction. This is what we've just learned, that if you read the whole of this introduction, you see the fellowship. And they'll end that you see this study was to what? Subsequently assess the decision. So we see they've ended with what the exact hypothesis. It means these people have followed a good scientific writing. So you see the last paragraph, they are talking about the aim of the study and the hypothesis, opinions, which means at least they've done something great. Although some studies on co-infection of this have been conducted in vitro, the clinical cancer of patients with this question remain unclear. So you see what they've done, they've stated the problem. This is unclear. That's the problem this paper investigated. And they proceeded to look at their aim. So as soon as you see this kind of publication or you do this kind of writing, you're going to publish anyway. Then it tells you that yes, you are following a good scientific writing. It captures everything. So you have to also write in this manner. But for example, you pick information from here that candidiasis remain the main etiology of oral hygiene, and normal courage of this particular among healthy publication ranges from 30 to 50. So if you pick this information, right, you have to paraphrase it. There's a way we paraphrase it, either using your Mo or there's a lot of online tools to do paraphrasing. I'm sure they will take you through. So it means that this whole information that you are going to pick and rephrase into your own sentence, it was taken from this reference number 1. So it means if you pick this information, you have to reference this article, the oral contraceptive by the fungal database, 2021 article. Then that's the article you are going to reference in your work. Because they are saying this, and this paper also pick their information and reference them. So it means you also reference them. So you have to know the information you pick, who said this, and what you are referencing. So you could see that in this publication, it's only introduction. You don't see any problem statement, justification, anything where everything is in the introduction. That's why it's very important if you want to progress in your academic level. In the case of publications, how to write a good, the methodology and everything is a whole chapter 3, chapter 4. We go there, results, then we go there. So this is a typical work that we always do before publication. And this one can be like 15 pages or 20 pages that they've published. I'm sure you are fine now.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Ebenezer.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for such an insightful presentation. I'm Philip.
Yes, Philip.
Please, where at K University is your office? I would like to come and see you, especially with respect to the data analytics. Or I mean,
Yes.
or if they can share your number. But you realize that you said that you do some courses for R Studio and those things. So
Yeah,
I'm
so
quite
for
interested.
yeah, for the past years too, I've been running statistics for biomedical and health science. I don't know whether you've seen those courses.
I've not seen it. I'm in health sciences. I would love to really do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Yes.
I'll be
So
running
I don't
those
know if I
courses
can
where
get your contact and then personally
yeah,
get
so
in
I'll
touch.
send you my contact. But currently I'm not in Ghana and
Oh, no
I'm
problem.
currently in the US, yes,
Oh,
doing my PhD.
oh, that's good. I
Yes,
mean, the
yes.
beauty of the
So if
internet is
anything, I
such
have
that we
data.
can always learn, and then we
Exactly.
can learn
So
remotely.
I handle data from a lot of people down there. So even today I was working on someone's data. You can always reach
Great.
out anytime.
Yeah.
You have
Yes,
data.
yes.
Now I love playing with data. That's what I
That's great. Thank you for everything you are doing to help us. So grateful.
yeah.
So I'm waiting for the number thing. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me send. Yes, any question? We're almost finishing up. I will send WhatsApp too so that I send WhatsApp this. This number is just for WhatsApp text or email. Okay. Any question? Nat, do you have any additional?
Um, so I think if there are no additional questions, then we can. Okay, somebody's hands up. So
I think Philip just talked.
no, I think Andrews.
Okay, Wes, you can go.
Yeah, I'm Andus Baba Jiburi from Ghana,
Okay.
precisely
Okay.
Bolga.
Yeah. I've been having some friends from there too.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much for your effort in helping us. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Welcome.
Normally, when you pick statistical facts from an article,
Okay.
then that the referencing is given.
Okay.
Sometimes when you go and download the original article,
Mm-hmm.
then you realize that that person has also gotten that information from a different person. But the one who is doing the article has cited that particular article as the primary source. So I don't know how we
Yeah.
can handle it.
So it depends on the statistical facts. What kind of statistical facts?
For instance, like the one you just showed us about the 30% to the 40%. And
Yes.
the reference
Okay.
is number one.
You go to yes.
So if you go to the reference column and you look at the reference for number one,
The person also cited someone.
and you go and download that article, then
Yes.
you go through to see whether it is his finding. You
Exactly.
realize that he has also cited another person, but the one
Another
who
person.
cited him has cited him as the primary source.
Exactly. So it means that someone is doing an incorrect citation.
Yes.
One of them, so that's the main issue about citation. So one of them has refused to cite the original source. So it's like when someone cites, the old one cited the wrong source, and the new people to the one that just currently published, the person do not also verify. You just want to write and publish fast. So also
Yes.
got the information and cite. So
Yes.
you that you've come, you want to really know, then they'll be misleading you. So that's
Yes.
some of the way. So in that case, you can look for information from different way, a better source that had the same information or different
Okay.
data. So if
Yeah.
it's the prevalence on candidiasis, you look for a good prevalence from a different side and leave those papers.
Yes.
Hope you get. Yes, that's the only way.
My second issue is normally with PhD, they are interested in findings.
Exactly.
But if you go to WHO reports,
Yes.
there they are not studies. Sometimes they are not articles that are published there, but they are reports that are
Exactly.
written and presented their maybe their findings.
Exactly.
Yeah, can you also use those findings as part of your work?
Yeah, so we emphasize that for those ones, they report on, for example, real-time prevalence. If you are looking for a prevalence on the most current trending disease condition, it means they are the good source, telling you that this is the current trend in what mpox virus. But if you are looking for some data on rare condition, those ones are only reported in what literature basis. For example, prevalence of diabetes. I'm not sure you see current data on prevalence of diabetes, or let's say condition like preeclampsia that is only affecting a pregnant woman. You see it on only what publications, or for example, the vitamin D deficiency among pregnant women. Sometimes you don't see those information on what WHO website. You have to look for what published papers. But for those trending disease condition, you have to report the current prevalence from the WHO website, which is really acceptable.
Okay, thank you very much, Ebenezer. God bless you.
Welcome. Do you have any more questions? I think if you have more questions, you can reserve it. We'll be meeting again. I think I'll have another section somewhere, right? But I think, yeah, I'll meet you again in result presentation section. That will be at the end of the month or not, right?
Yes. We have another
Yeah.
session too.
Yes, that'll
So
be
I think,
later. So you have
yeah,
to enjoy
I think we
yourself.
can end here.
Yes.
And so thank you to everyone for joining today's session. So thank you, Beneza, for such a wonderful presentation.
Yes.
People appreciate it. So we would have our next session next week, Friday. I think we will do literature review before referencing.
Yeah.
So yeah, take note of that. The next week, Friday, 11th, will be on literature review. And it's also going to be a nice and insightful session. Once again, thank you all and see you next week. Bye.
Yeah, thank you too. Bye.